Okay, so we are now live. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on the planet, tuning in right now and watching. Welcome to Move the Crowd's monthly webcast. And I'm Dana Bolicki, and I'm an engagement strategist with Move the Crowd, and I'm also a proud Academy alumni. Woo-hoo. And Move the Crowd is the nation's first entrepreneurial training company dedicated to helping the next generation stay true, get paid, and do good. So tonight we'll all have the pleasure, and I really do mean that, we'll all have the immense pleasure of spending the next 45 minutes or so, 45 minutes to an hour, right? Sometimes it gets extra juicy, with entrepreneurial soul coach, founder, CEO of Move the Crowd, the lovely Miss Rha Goddess, and our special guest for the month of June, Reshma Saujani, founder of Girls Who Code and former deputy advocate of NYC. I voted for Reshma, and also True Paid Good Academy alumni. So y'all are in good company tonight. And before I hand it over to Rha, she'll really, she'll dig in with Reshma. We're going to go deep. We're going to look at vision and alignment and values and making your purpose profitable and really digging in on this theme, our theme of the month, which is build and climb. And so before I hand it over to Rha, I just want to tell you a little bit for those of you who are brand new and maybe are just meeting Move the Crowd for the very first time. As I mentioned, we're an entrepreneurial training company focusing on conscious entrepreneurs and cultural creatives. And we work with clients to leverage their unique creativity, their strengths, their passions into tangible, profitable results. Right? We hold both, the purpose and the profit, the stay true and the get paid and the do good. And through our True Paid Good Academy, right, I mentioned that I'm an alumni, Reshma is an alumni. That's our year-long intensive where you're paired with your own coach. But through that work, and then through all of the other offerings that we offer as a company, and really as a company as movement, our vision is to really help entrepreneurs emerge with their own vision to move forward, the knowledge to up their game, and the power to achieve their own flavor of success. So tonight we'll be taking questions via the video interface. So however you're watching it, if you're watching it on our site, there should be a space there where it says Google+, ask a question. I'll be turning the Q&A on in 1 second. And we'll also take questions via Twitter. So just use the hashtag AskMTC, as in Ask Move the Crowd, AskMTC. So I'll keep my eyes out for both. And with that, I hand over this monthly webcast to the lovely Miss Rha Goddess.
Thank you so much, Dana. Hey, everybody. Happy June. I hope it is warm and sunny and wonderful wherever you are. I can barely contain my excitement about the fact that I'm rolling with my homie Resh tonight. And as Dana said, the theme for the month of June is build and climb, and it is all about the growing edge. And I'm going to tell you what the growing edge is in a minute. But first I want to set you up a little bit, and then Resh and I are going to get into it. So tonight in the tip, you have the opportunity to get present to the power and value of your own unique path and experience, aka we affectionately call it the journey. You have the opportunity to reconcile the tension between the magnitude of your aspirations and the breadth and depth of your capacity. Hello, we're going to talk about that, Resh, I know. You have the opportunity to understand and embrace your growing edge as a recipe for success. And finally, you have the opportunity to celebrate all that you are and all that you're becoming, step by step and day by day. So I want to give an entrepreneurial shout out to our first youngest woman billionaire, Elizabeth Holmes, and her company Theranos. Woohoo! And if y'all been reading about her, but her amazing company has revolutionized the way that we now draw blood. It's gone from sort of needles and vials to a pinprick. God bless her. She knows those of us who suffer from needle trauma. And her story is amazing, and I hope we'll get the link out on the Twitter sphere and in the blog and etc. So so that you all can read about her. But we just want to acknowledge her. 30 years old, 12 years with her head down, and her company is now worth something like $8 billion. So congratulations, Elizabeth. We're so thrilled for you, and thank you for being true, paid, and good. So into our theme for tonight. When you are nurturing a big vision, there is no way to easily wrap your mind around everything it is going to take to accomplish your goals. And I know you're with me, Resh, when I say this. If I were to lay out the tasks that I have done in service of Move the Crowd, and you, I know with Girls Who Code, it would probably stretch from here to Texarkana and back 3 and 4 times over. The hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of devoted time with my head down, focusing over each and every detail, and what it has taken for me internally and externally to lift this vision from an idea to its current state. You know, the funny thing, though, is if you ask me where I am on the journey of fulfilling on this vision, mission, and purpose of this venture, I would tell you that even with all that I have done and all that we have done, and my team, God bless my team, Dana Balicki and company, God bless my team, what we've done, we're just getting started, because what I see for us and our vision and our impact is so much more. In Seth Godin's The Dip, he shares about the statistic of running the Boston Marathon, and he talks about the fact that most people actually quit at mile 20, which is just 5 miles shy of the finish line. And in Godin's Dip analogy, he describes it as the place where people are no longer cheering and where you still can't see the finish line. In entrepreneurship, as in leadership, as in life, we talk a lot about the destination, but that's, you know, because that's where the glory lies, and the recognition and the appreciation, the credibility, the applause, the achievement, right, the respect. We get it. All of us have been conditioned and indoctrinated to appreciate the end game. However, I'm curious about and want to know, what if we considered being on the road as its own victory? Like, what if we could honor and be inspired by the fact that we are on our path, or in the proximity of our path and our purpose, and that every step that we're making every day on the road is a contribution, is a reason for celebration? What if we could be encouraged by every effort spent in service of our commitment and our dream? How do we, for those of us who have all this aspiration, and those of us who have all this achievement going on, right, our over-aspirers and our overachievers, how do we find the growing edge? It's what David Straub and Gail Gershon describe as that place where the magnitude of our aspirations meet the depth of our willingness and engage the breadth of our capacity and experience to forge the path towards our highest contribution. This is the place where we cultivate the discipline to stay the course, where we discover a different kind of respect for ourselves as we come face to face with what it really takes to lift the vision. This is the place where we work to reconcile the tension between our vision, our reality, and our expectations. This month, we pay homage to the journey as we delve into the heart of what it means to build and climb. So this is how it's going down, party people. I'm so thrilled tonight to have my beloved True Pay Good alumni, Ad Age A-lister, Forbes Top 40 Under 40. I could go on and on. Founder and CEO of Girls Who Code, and brand new mama. I think that's the one I'm most proud of with you, Resh, right? Brand new mama, Miss Reshma Saujani. Reshma, thank you so much for being with us. So we're going to talk about the journey, and your journey is an amazing one. So I would love to just start with, when did you first know, or when did you first have that inkling, like, okay, that you were being called to lead?
So, Raj, my family came here as refugees from Uganda, and so I think that their struggle to come to this country, to sacrifice everything to give me a chance, is something that's always been with me. And I feel like I knew kind of what my destiny in terms of public service was about was probably when I was 12 years old, and I led my very first march down, in our town in Schaumburg, Illinois. And, ever since then, I feel like every time I've seen an injustice, I've wanted to speak. Like there's been something inside of me that's called me into action. So it's been with me forever. Hi, this is Sean.
Oh, we have to get the family cameo and the hi, Sean. We're going to talk about Sean later, so it's so good to see him.
Okay.
Y'all get the baby cameo.
Yeah, Nahal's putting Sean to bed now. Clearly, it's going very
so
well.
We're all kissing Sean goodnight now.
So that sense of, I think, being called, like we always say in Hinduism, like, what's your dharma? Like, what have you been put on this earth to do? I feel like I've always had a very strong sense of what that was.
Yeah, so 12 years old, leading these marches. And then when would you say the path, right? Because you are a public servant. You speak yourself as a public servant, and that's a very specific calling. You and I know, right? Because we have been in the belly of it. It's a very specific calling. When would you say the path actually emerged for you? And what did you say to yourself when you saw it?
So I feel like it's interesting. I mean, I feel like my path emerged out of misery, right? It was almost about, I knew what I wanted to do, but I found myself on the wrong path. And I think that path was, in the financial services industry, working as a lawyer in corporate America, and just being, like I always said, coming home in the fetal position every day, right? Not knowing very well that was not what I feel like I was meant to do. And I think it was out of that depth of misery that I said, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna throw that, I'm gonna go for a long shot. I'm gonna run for, Congress. I'm gonna do something at the opposite extreme, right? And it was that run for Congress, I think, that put me to where I am today.
And so this opportunity to see this potential to go for public office, and then what it created for you in the conversation as a result in terms of your path.
Yeah, but I definitely think I want to be really clear that, like, for me, I think finding my path really came out of a dark place. I think sometimes there's something about, I feel like Seth Godin writes about this in The Dip, right? There's something about, like, having to be truly miserable and forcing yourself to then really take really big risks in your life to find happiness.
Yeah. Misery will get you clear like nothing else, I always say, and I really, really do believe that, because so many of us rise from dark places, right? We have that, that what we call dark journey of the soul, or that dark night, or, however we describe it. And it is something about the way that we gather ourselves in the belly of that enables, right, the vision to start to emerge. And so, tonight is all about finding the edge, and this is the conversations that you and I have all the time. Was there ever a period where you felt like you were putting too much pressure on yourself, right? Because your vision, and we're going to talk more about just sort of, and maybe we stop here and do that. Like talk a little bit, Reshma, about what you're building for those who don't know. Yeah. And then I want to come back into this question.
So, I'm the founder and CEO of Girls Who Code, which is a national nonprofit that's seeking to close the gender gap in computer science, a really small thing, right? For some reason, in the past 30 years, we've seen this enormous decline of women in the computer science space, in the technology space, at a time where we can't live without our devices, right? We're so dependent on social media, on technology, but women are being pushed out. And, in 2012, I really started to do something about it and started Girls Who Code. And so we basically build classrooms in technology companies, and we do after-school programs at clubs and libraries and in schools. And so by the end of this year, we'll reach about 10,000 girls. We're in 34 states. So we've had this tremendous amount of growth. And what's awesome is, like, we're getting some of our data back from our alumni that are now in college, and about over 95% of those who go through our programs are majoring or minoring in computer science. So our impact is really being felt and seen and quickly, which is really powerful.
Yeah, and so important, right? Because we're all clear that technology is the next frontier, right? In terms of where talent is being developed, where the opportunities are going to be, it's all in technology. And so there's a tremendous opportunity to grow. What are the statistics, Resh? Something like 12%?
Yeah, between 12 and 18% are right now in that field. So it's real, and it was 37% in the 80s. So there's been this enormous decline. Yeah.
Right. So it's about how do we bring back this opportunity as we see technology as the new frontier for engagement and growth and wealth generation. Let's be straight, right?
Yep.
More opportunities for wealth for women is also such a critical and key part of this.
Right.
So back to this question, we're in the growing edge. Was there ever a time where you felt like you were putting too much pressure on yourself to be successful?
I feel like we've talked about this. I think that in leadership, sometimes you have enormous highs, right, where you're working and you just can't even find a minute. And then you're like, totally chilling, right? So for me, it's like I've always found myself at those at some of those peaks being like, I can't even last another second, you know. And I definitely feel like, you know, I've had to learn in the thick of my campaign to kind of sit and breathe. You know, I think after my elections, it's just like I'm physically, emotionally just exhausted and spent. And so I feel like I've had those periods lots of times.
And how do you deal with them? You know, when you feel like you know you're pushing, right? And sometimes we talked about this, right? Where you're on fumes, you know, and you got so much more road to go. And, you know, how do you, in those moments, either garner yourself, or how do you say, you know what, it's okay to take a step back? Like, what's your dialogue like, and how do you deal with it?
Well, I think it's about not feeling guilty in doing so, and you know, taking permission. You know what I mean? Having the permission to slow down, and the world's not going to end, and like you're not going to be less of a mission-driven person if you take a Saturday and you just sit in your bed and like eat ice cream and watch Lifetime. You know, that's okay to do that. Slow down. And you know, I think, you know, some of the practices that you've taught me about journaling and meditation, even if it's just for 3 minutes, right, just to get recentered and taking time for yourself. And to be honest, one of the hardest things I've found about motherhood is I feel like I have no personal time anymore, like no me time. Where, and oftentimes it's at 6:30 in the morning between pumping and Sean waking up and being on the treadmill with my phone and making sure my husband doesn't text me, so I have to run back. So it's really not even my personal time because it's still in so much stress that I'm trying to find that time. So it's hard. Yeah. I'm definitely not good at it. It's definitely something I'm working on.
So that's an edge, right? And we're going to come back to that sort of when we start to look at, you know, where you are now in the journey. But because I do think, you know, all the mamas out there make some noise. I think this integration of, you know, mamahood and entrepreneurship and, right, vision and mission and leadership is a dance, right? And it's a very complex dance and a complicated dance at that. Was there ever a time where you felt like it was going too slow? Where you were like, man, I need to put the gas on, or you know, whether it was just a feeling or whether it was something that you actually saw as being a valid concern?
I mean, definitely. I think in my 20s, you know, one could argue that if I had just, you know, started the path of politics right after I graduated law school, I may be elected right now, you know, and I definitely took my 20s to just kind of enjoy life a little bit, take it slow and easy. Not do the Reshma hustle so intensely. And, you know, I'm glad I did, right? I think it's the same thing with having a child, right? I think that there's some, you know, like there's something about having a child in your, you know, almost in your 40s, right? And about not engaging in motherhood early. I mean, I guess you can argue it both ways. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely periods where I feel like I've been slow, and it's been intentional, or it's because it's when I didn't know what I wanted to do next, or where I wanted to really lean in.
Yeah, it's interesting because we hear this so often. When people come into those periods, they feel like something's wrong.
Yeah,
right? It's not moving. It's not happening fast enough, and there's a lot of anxiety that gets kicked up around that. And I think, you know, it's funny because I agree with you, Resh, in that, you know, we're at a place as well now where we're engaging in what's going to be exponential growth for us. And I'm like, I don't know if I could have held it a minute sooner, quite frankly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I earned every step of this road, and I feel solid and sure as we're growing, as opposed to shaky as we're growing, which you and I both know. There's so many stories out there where people go from 0 to 60 overnight and you collapse, right? Yeah. From the sheer speed, right? You know, the hyper force of what it is that you're trying to do and trying to grow so fast. And so I love this conversation, and I love this conversation especially for us as women, right? Because again, there's the hyper pressure there on both fronts, on the mommy front and on the professional front.
Well, it was, you know, it's funny. It's like the other day I was, you know, like I said, you know, I have my niece here. I was speaking at the Google Women's Summit. Sean was sick and on a hunger strike, you know, and I was like giving my talk with being like, I need to run out. And this woman's like, you're a superwoman. And it was almost like she was giving it to me as a compliment, but I was taking it as an insult because I don't want to be that woman. You know, where you people perceive you that it's all going so well, and they feel guilty or bad about themselves when they can't keep it together. 'Cause I think sometimes the facade is very easy, but so I remind myself or remind others that it's not going so, you know what I mean? It's hard.
Yeah, tell the truth, Rush. Tell the truth. And I mean, and I think this opportunity of, the theme that we're examining and we're exploring and engaging all month, this opportunity of build and climb. It's like when you say that, what happens in your body is you automatically begin to slow down and kind of get present, like, oh, there are thousands of steps in this journey, not one or two, right? And you got to plan for the long game because, we all want to be here and thriving and prospering for a long, long time. So, tomorrow, there's a tomorrow after tomorrow, if we can see that and have that perspective.
Well, and I think sometimes we just need permission. I feel like when we worked together after my public advocate campaign, you gave me permission to slow down. And because I slowed down, I was really able to have Sean, and do all the things I needed to do for my health to get my mind and body centered to bring a child into this earth. And so, I remember that with my team, and when I see them burning out, right, to give them permission to slow down.
Yeah, so good. I'm a proud coach right now because the other thing I will say is that in slowing down, you also generated a record year.
Yeah.
Right, because there's a way that we hold it like it's linear, y'all, right? And, the truth is, I'm a fan of growth. Y'all know that, but I'm a fan of organic growth, which includes rapid growth, slow growth, steady growth, pivots, pirouettes, plies, whatever you need to do, right? In the right context. Your game. And so, this idea sometimes that we think if we hit it and grind, that it's somehow going to move faster. And the truth is sometimes if we just take our hands off of it and take a deep breath and slow down and calm down, something else gets to take hold. Our partnership, right, with the universe gets to take hold, and then it starts to sort of move. And for me, it was so beautiful to watch you last year because, we're growing the team, and, we're growing the organization, we're growing the impact, and you're growing this baby all at the same time. And you were so beautiful to watching it, and of course, we know you have moments, we all have moments, but overall, I was so like, oh, Resh got this. Like, I was so proud, like I remember, right, that moment we stood and held your belly. It was like, man, and it was really symbolic of all of it, and again, I get asked all the time, and I know you do too, Resh, because, the Superwoman conversation, what do you do to have it all? And I'm like, I'm not interested in having it all. I'm interested in having what matters. I want to have what matters. And when I ask myself about what matters, man, that list gets, you know what I'm saying? Because all is a lot. You know, if I'm at the smorgasbord, I don't know that I want to eat it all. You know what I'm saying? I might like what it looks like. Right. But I don't know if I want to eat it all necessarily. You feel me? I think I want to have what's important for me, what's mattering, what's nurturing and growing and exciting for me, right? So, because you are building something that has never existed before, Rush, and I think about the early days of Girls of Code spoken, and now, there's a way that you've influenced a field, quite frankly, right, where everyone is sort of really starting to look at this opportunity to get the next generation tech savvy and to get the next generation science and math ready, right? Because we know our future is going to revolve around these skills, right? These skill sets and these talents. In the day-to-day, how do you stay focused, especially because you're part of an industry that is moving at hyperspeed? What enables you to stay kind of focused and stay the course, given all that may be swirling around you?
I mean, my girls, right? It's. I think that you have to keep inspiration in front of you. Like I like designated Thursdays for my team, Inspiration Thursdays, where we have to, while we're in this huge kind of climb into the summer, which is our most intense months, to remind ourselves why we do this work. Because I think you can forget. It's funny when you're, thinking about this, it's like when you're mission driven, like sometimes for profits, right? The three things that drive people is like you earn, learn, and fun, right? And when you're in a nonprofit, you're not earning, and so you got to be learning and having fun. And I think, again, when you're moving very intensely, it doesn't feel like it's fun all the time. Yeah. So keeping the mission in front of you, and for me, I think is very important, and it allows me to kind of go. Yeah.
Yeah, so important. And what about the right support? because that's another piece of it, right? And I know, this lift into the summer is, like you said, this is your heavy season. And
Right.
so what kind of support is pivotal for you right now as you look at what you're lifting and what you're moving? What kind of support?
Well, I think for me personally, as you just met my husband and my child, I think having somebody who right, I can do this conversation with you, and he's doing bath time and putting him to bed and like feeding right, taking care of the home and me,
Right.
right? I think is
Shout
really,
out
really, really
Nicole.
important.
Yeah.
Really important, I think, to find partners that are going to provide that space for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think from my perspective and the team's perspective, I do think like I said, keeping the mission, in front of you. I think finding moments and times to slow down. I also think you taught me this, to celebrate. Last week we had this enormous teacher training where we had hundreds of people and we trained them and we're about to launch our program. And people were so exhausted, and I said, everyone take a moment to celebrate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eat go get a cupcake, drink a glass of wine, like do a Beyonce dance, right? Do something, right? Take a moment to take it all in. Because we don't do that sometimes, and then you forget why you do the work.
Yeah, so important, so important. And your team, anything you want to say about team, right? Because there are a lot of folks out here who are trying to figure the team equation out, and we all know, right? Especially we both know, it's not easy. You have to really choose well and invest. So anything you want to say about team and the right support there?
So I believe in really hiring people who are smarter than you. Right, everybody on my team does something better than I do in some way, right? And I love that, I acknowledge that, and I leverage that. And so I think that that's really important. Again, I think for us, it's really finding people that are mission driven, especially for this organization. People really committed and wanting to solve this problem, and I think who are going to support each other. And this idea of like sisterhood is something that is a very big theme in my campaigns, in my, at Girls Who Code, amongst our girls too, right? It's like, how are we elevating one another's leadership?
Yeah.
Like I want Girls Who Code to be a place that you come to and you leave and you go run the world, right? It's like I had this moment, while it was like third week into having Sean. I'm exhausted. I'm watching an infomercial. It's 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, how the hell did I get here? Right? And while I'm, nursing him, I'm looking through my BlackBerry and our alumni data comes in, and I'm like, oh my God, like we're changing the world. Like, when do you get to be a part of an organization where you can actually really say that, right? Yeah. So it's like finding people who are like my ride or die sisters, right? Who are like, we're doing this together is really important.
Yeah. And it's a long journey. So it's important, the celebration, the keeping the vision in front of you, right? The taking the time, the giving yourself permission to rest. All of those things are integral because we have to pace ourselves, right? If we're going to make it, we have to pace ourselves. So how would you describe your relationship with your journey now? Like where are you, or how would you describe where you are in the journey right now?
So it's really interesting. Motherhood has made me more professionally ambitious. And I think it's because I am so concerned about the world that I'm leaving to Sean, in the world, the world I want to create for him. So I feel like it's made me even more committed to serving and to service and into the work that I do at Girls Who Code. It's also made me more aware, I feel like, the issues that affect women. It's hard being a mother. So I'm even more mad about the lack of paid parental leave, the fact that I can't find a place to nurse, and that if men nursed, there'd be like, mothers' rooms in like gyms, it's like the whole world would change, right, to accommodate men. So it's like what we do is really hard, and there's not a lot of support there to support. And I definitely want to do something about that. I'm really in the throes of, we always say Girls Who Code, like last year we blew up. This year is about world domination. Like we're going even bigger. And that's really exciting to me.
Yeah. So this opportunity where you really can see global impact in front of you, right? Because I agree with you. I think that is what's next, knowing and having the privilege to be on the inside of the crazy growth and flourishing that has happened, right? Just it's amazing to believe it's last year and a half, Resh, right?
Yeah.
My God, we're living in dog years, girl. It's amazing. So I want to turn it back to Dana so we can open it up for some questions. Yeah, I'm sure we've got some questions coming in. So Dana?
Yeah, absolutely. And just as a reminder, for anyone watching right now, I'm taking questions, fielding questions via Twitter. Just use the hashtag AskMTC, or use it, whatever you see on the viewer, right, as you're watching the webcast. There should be a little prompt there that says submit a question. And usually what happens is that we get a flood of questions like right as we're wrapping the evening. I don't know if it's just because everyone's gelling or it's all sinking in, but just so you know, when that happens, we can't always take all of them. We try to squeeze a few more in there, but like if you've got something brewing, just spit it out, and we'll work with you. So in terms of questions that have come in previously, here's one that I find to be particularly juicy, and this comes in from Elle. She says, I can't shake the feeling I should be more accomplished at my age. I've taken a lot of twists and turns, and while sometimes I can appreciate the road I've traveled, other times, most of the time, I'm worried I'm not far enough. I'm ready to break free of the feeling I just don't know how, and I feel stuck.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because I feel like I felt that way up until the time I was about 34, 35. My career trajectory has enormously changed in just 3 years, right? I was a very different, you know what I mean? I had a very different, when Rha, you read my bio was very different even just 3.5, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, and I've had so many careers. I've been an attorney, I've worked in financial services, I ran for office, I worked in government, I'm a nonprofit leader. Who knows what I'm going to do the next 10 years from now, right? So you just got to believe. And I think one of the things that Rha really taught me is you got to call it in. Like, and I've done that in my life where I know where I want to be, and I often think I used to think the universe was fighting me, and now I realize the universe is conspiring for me. And I think calling it in and really believing in it, like, changes everything.
Yeah, Elle, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, Mama. You can't even see what is in front of you, and that's the thing about the journey. The funny thing about the journey is we think that what we're experiencing today is going to be what we're experiencing tomorrow, right? Resh, just to your point, right? And you have no idea, man. You can turn a corner, and then there it all is. And then it starts like happening rapid fire, and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, it's happening, right? So I just want to say that, I want to underscore Reshma's, suggestion to call it in. Like, I want to underscore that because, yes, that's exactly what I would say. And I would also say to you to trust that everything you're experiencing right now and everything that you're learning and growing, and if you're not learning and growing, like, that's another thing, be feeding yourself. Even if you can't see what the thing is yet, read, walk, journey, experience, take conferences, attend trainings, continue to cultivate yourself, because again, you have no idea when the moment comes what you're going to need and what you're going to want to draw from in order to meet that moment. So I hope that was helpful. But where you are is exactly where you should be, Mama.
That's always a good reminder. And thanks, Resh, for, I'm turning 35 at the end of the year, and it's been such a fascinating, it's I had my life as like a political organizer for many, many years, right? And I've done all sorts of different things in between then, and now I do a lot of coaching work and this wonderful engagement strategy work with Rha and with Move the Crowd, and it's true, you don't know. And if we can sort of see our paths as like constellations, right? Like all the connections, as opposed to it feeling like some sort of scatter shot, right? Like it helps to know, like to see more of the path, and then, like you said, Rha, to like get like, oh, I'm on it, right? Like I'm not like way out in the weeds necessarily, like trying to get somewhere I can't see.
Right. I think about Sheryl Sandberg's, right? It's not a ladder, it's a jungle gym. I love that quote. It's a jungle gym. And I really do believe that.
Right. So do you want to take another question, Rha?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Let's see. This one comes in from P. Let's see. Well, which one do I want to take? I'll take this one. I'm in the process of writing a book and want to start building a community and a following. What's the best way to build your brand when you're just starting out? How do you suggest building your community, connecting with people, and sharing your love and light with others?
So just tactically, what I did when I wrote Women Who Don't Wait in Line is I committed to spending about an hour or 2 hours on social media. And so I would start following in...
Was that a day?
A day.
Mm-hmm.
And I would start kind of following folks or tweeting at folks who were talking about women in leadership and young women in leadership. And, I really saw my, number of Twitter followers grow significantly as I put in more time into it.
I love that social media piece. And I do think, I don't know what your book is about, but I think this conversation of finding communities where the themes that you talk about in your book are resonant. So that's everything from online communities via social media to also conferences, events, gatherings, right? There's so much happening right now. And, I think there's an opportunity to plug in, rooted in the interest of the topics that you're engaging. And so I would also recommend getting out and connecting and, and enjoying, especially because the weather's getting ready to get really, really nice, hopefully for most of us. You enjoy your summertime and you can get out and be engaged. And so I would definitely recommend that. And I would also say be really clear about who you want to be talking to. Who did you write your book for, right? Because this is a conversation about audience, right? An ideal client, if you're looking to build a venture around your book and the themes that you shared and the knowledge you shared in your book, right? So who do you most want to be talking to? Because that's another place where you can then explore where are they online, where are they in the context of conferences and gatherings and live events, and begin there.
Yeah, those are great, and I think that's really, those will both get P far, right? And I just want to say that when I talk to lots of folks who want to sort of strategize around social media, that oftentimes it can feel like, oh, this is this thing I have to do, right? And while that's true, like what you were saying, Reshma, is that what were the three things you've got to earn, learn, fun?
Yeah.
It's like this. It has to be fun. Right, like, because you're not necessarily going to be raking in the dollars from Twitter, right? Like, as you're building something, right? It's like, or raking in the followers. It's like, it's like this does have to be fun, and it's an opportunity to build relationships, right? So if you're like, I don't want to build relationships, then it might be worth, exploring whether that's the right avenue for you right now, even if you are interested in building. There might be other ways to build community. It's important to understand the alignment and what the opportunity of building an online community is, and then, what it takes. The last thing I'll say is just that advice I always give to folks is like, imagine if you were walking into a huge party, right? You wouldn't just stand there, in the front of, walk in the door and just be like, hi, I'm Dana, and this is what I have to say, and then just sort of stand there and wait, right? Like, no, you would go up to people, you find the conversations, right? And on Twitter and such, it's like finding hashtags, finding people, authors, writers, people you really like, and seeing who they're talking to and what they're talking about. So there's ways to actually, where you're not just on blast, on broadcast, but where you're actually cultivating relationships. And I've made really wonderful friends even that started out just on social media, and I know through Move the Crowd, we've had folks come into the Move the Crowd community who just found us straight through social media. So there's a lot of potential. Right?
I love it. That's Dana's expertise, y'all. Can you tell? That's her world. That's her world. She holds it down for us. She does an amazing job.
Well, I do like to have fun. There's one more juicy question, but I think we should, you all get back to, because I know that there's some questions bubbling there for you, Rha, and then we can maybe take another one in a minute or two.
Okay, perfect. So, Resh, when you think about, the fact that so many of us are trying to figure out this life design piece, right? So we're entrepreneurial, or we're discovering that for some of us, we're just discovering that we're entrepreneurial, right? And there's this sort of, or can be this sort of tension between the super mom and the super mogul. And I'm curious, as a new mama, to talk a little bit about how does motherhood support your brand of leadership? In what ways is Sean teaching you how to lead?
Well, I think I just, like, I don't care anymore in a good way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so authentic and real. You know, it's funny. I can share this with you, but it's like, even in, you know, I definitely engaged back into my work too quickly and didn't listen to probably any advice that you gave me, right? And, you know, I really found myself, you know, 7 weeks after giving a baby, like on planes to LA and Phoenix and Austin and New Orleans, giving speeches to, you know, 600, 700, 800 person audiences. And at the same time while I was nursing. And so, you know, I'd be running from plane to speech and back, and I had to pump. And I remember just, you know, plugging into the airport lounge or in my seat while I was sitting there, and having a lot of men surrounding me pretending not to notice what I was doing. But it's almost like I didn't care because I had to feed Sean, right? Yeah. So that sense of, like, you know, I'm a mom now and there's someone else who's depending on me. I think that permeates, like, my work in like a really this powerful way of, like, it's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than my ego. It's bigger than my wants and my desires. It's about him.
Yeah. It's so fascinating because I really feel like when you can say that is when you really have surrendered to the journey. Because I think the pressure or it's not going fast enough, or it's moving too slow, or I'm not big enough, or I'm not where I should be. I think there's a way that it becomes too much about us, if you know what I'm saying, where our peace of mind becomes at risk, right? And our sanity becomes at risk. And it's when we really see that it is bigger than us, there's a way that we can really lean in and just surrender and go, listen, you know, this is, you know, I love what Anurag, the beloved Anurag Gupta, Anurag, founder of Be More, I don't know where you are, Anurag, but I'm channeling your spirit tonight. You know, we would talk about it, and, you know, he would see, oh, okay, I've got these additional steps to do. And he goes, this is my life's work. He would just say, this is my life's work. You know, I understand that I'm going to be here for the rest of my life, and so I'm not rushing it. I'm not forcing it. I'm not pushing it. And, of course, he is on the brink right now of an exponential year where he is integrating mindfulness to support transforming implicit bias in medicine. I mean, could you imagine? So doctors are now going to have the opportunity to have advantage of this sort of intersection of racial justice and mindfulness, y'all. I mean, talk about innovation, right? So I say it all to say that it took Anurag time to get that clarity, and it took him time to build that conviction and that sense of himself as a leader in order to be able to do that. And it was really, it tipped when he knew, like, oh, this is bigger than me. This is what I'm on the planet to do. This is my life's work. So I really could just be, you know, enjoy the ride. Show up every day, do what I'm called to do, and enjoy the ride, right?
Yeah, wow. It's so true. It's very, very true.
Yeah. So Dana, I don't know, maybe we'll take one more question before we start to turn and bring it home. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. So let's see when I've got two juicy ones. Let's take this one that just came in via Twitter from H. Let's see. How do you navigate the impact naysayers have on you without going to the energy of, I'll prove you wrong?
Oh, I love that question. Resh.
I've had a lot of naysayers in my life, and it's true. I mean, I think it's, listen, I still don't think we as a society like strong women yet, you know, and I think, and so, you know, I often have to not read the comment section, you know, in an article about me, or even an article about girls who code. Like, how can you hate on girls learning to code? But people do, you know, people really do, and it doesn't mean that your feelings don't get hurt, but I just feel like resiliency and building a strong sense of self and purpose and resilience is really, really, really critical to your journey.
Yeah.
And I've had to teach myself that.
Absolutely. I firmly believe, and I've said this in our conversation, I think last month and the month before, that I believe that when everything else falls away, who you are is your commitment. And if you allow yourself to be guided by your commitment, regardless of who says what or who does what, there's a strength that you develop and you cultivate over time because you're very focused. You got your eye on the prize, and that's really where your energy is, and you're not allowing your energy to sort of be dissipated, right? And Resh, to your point, I know our humanity, we might bow our head for a minute or shed a tear about it for a minute, but the opportunity is, again, to always return to the commitment, right? And I love the awareness that you're bringing in terms of, like, how do I do this without, I'll prove you wrong, because I will say to you that proving will make you tired, girl. Proving will make you very, very tired. Trust me, because there will always be something to prove. So if you get on that merry-go-round or you step on that Ferris wheel, you will be going around and around and around. Trust me. So, your commitment is your true north. Your vision is your true north. Your desired impact is your true north. And that's really where you want to have the impetus and the core and the mass of your focus needs to really be there. Because that other stuff is going to come and go. Trust me, it will, right, Resh? It comes, It goes. One day it's up, one day it's down, and that's not what you want to place your future in. That's not the hands you want to put your future in. Yeah. I love that question.
I was trying to keep up with all the tweets there flowing right from the two of you.
I love that question. Thank you so much, whoever asked it. Yeah. So, all right. So you're going to get a goodie because, as you know how we are, we always give goodies. And so I'm going to share what the goodie is, and then I'm going to turn it back to Resh for final words, and we're going to close it down. We'll turn it back to Dana to close us down. But you're going to get, in terms of your downloadable handout, right, your tools, 7 ways to find your growing edge. And I really want to invite you all to work with this over the course of the month, because this is about really figuring out that place, right? Remember I said where your wildest aspirations meet the depth of your willingness and engage the breadth of your capacity and experience. It's that sweet spot, that place where it feels like it's just the right stretch, but it's not too much, right? If you're over your edge, you're feeling overwhelmed. If you're behind your edge, you're feeling bored or a little checked out, right? So it is, again, it's a dance. You want to find that place where you're growing and you're thriving and you're achieving. And so the 7-step protocol that we're going to provide for you this month is going to allow you to do that. You're going to walk through the 7 steps. It's everything from beginning with making peace with your ambition to number 7, finally learning how to build and climb in a way that is healthy and thriving and profitable for you. So be on the lookout for that as part of your goodies. And then also we're going to send you, we're really excited, we have a big announcement to make in a couple of days, and Resh is an integral part of that, in that you're going to get a goodie, which is a brand new case study that we've developed on Resh and Resh's journey. And you're going to learn in it not only more about just what she's built, though you've got a teaser tonight about that, but also what were the sort of the pivotal aspects of our curriculum that we engaged, and how did Reshma leverage those to build such a thriving organization which is making incredible impact. I mean, 10,000 girls a year, y'all. That ain't nothing to sneeze at. That's revolution, right? And growing. 10,000 girls and growing, right? So, Resh, I love you. Thank you so much for taking the time with mommyhood and missionhood and movementhood, and you were making it. And I want to give you an opportunity to say some final words, and then to close us out with your L3, which you're going to read more about in the case study, how she built that. But I want to turn it back to you.
Well, again, I think that I'm always so grateful to have you in my life. So I just want to say thank you. I really wouldn't have done an ounce of the things I feel like I've accomplished over the past couple of years if we hadn't been working together. So I never can say thank you enough, but thank you. Let me read. Oh, here comes Sean. He's back and not sleeping.
All clean. This is why it's important. That's important.
This is our first Move the Crowd baby hangout bomb.
I love that.
So I'm going to read my L3s. So I, Reshma, live a life that is filled with inspiration, purposeful living, and family. A life where all of my actions and endeavors serve to uplift myself, others, and those around me. I, Reshma, love by inspiring others into action. I use my unique talents to build movements, evangelize, and hustle resources so that I can help create change and find solutions to problems that will change the world around us. I, Reshma, lead with authenticity, passion, and purpose. I lead through empowerment, hope, and celebration of our failures, creating a set of possibilities for our most vulnerable so that when they have opportunity, when they take a chance, anything is possible.
Reshma, thank you so much for living, loving, and leading in all of the ways that you do. I adore you. It's been an honor to have you and an honor to work with you. You know that, Mom. And for those of you out there, you'll get a chance to read about Reshma, and then you'll get a chance to create your very own L3. And you'll be on the lookout for more details about that. Lots of goodies coming your way. We love you all. Dana, you want to take us out?
I do. I needed there. Thank you. And thank you, Resh, for sharing that. I love hearing people's L3s. I always get all
It makes you cry, right? It's such
it never fails, because I know what it, for anyone out there who's an Academy member and alumni, like, you know what it takes to get to that L3. That is not like just like a couple hours of work coming up with some really good sentences. That's some deep soul digging and excavation, and you can take years getting those, and then once you got them, you're refining them and you're on to the next, and just thank you for sharing, and thank you for all you do, and then thank you, Rha. I'm also part of the Rha Goddess fan club, forever ever. Just filled with amazing human beings, and so what I will just say is that if you want to be part of the Rha and the Crowd fan club, please continue to join us every month, the first Thursday of every month. We do these live webcasts. We don't always have such a wonderful special guest, but we often do. And we also meet every week at every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for a live tweet chat, and that's using the hashtag AskMTC, and where you can just ask your questions, like talk to a live coach. We're here for you to help you in your mission-driven social business, right, wherever you are along your path, your constellation. And also, our coaches are amazing. You've met Rha this evening. You may know some of our others, J Love, Josh, Monica, and we are, we're here for you. So you can come try us out with a free strategic. And there's a fabulous process that you actually go through before you get on the call, so that you've got really about an hour of incredible strategic expertise, mind and cheerleader inside of your business. So I highly recommend it. And if you go to movethecrowd.me/academy, that's where you can learn more about the free strategic session, and begin to move through with us that process that you've just witnessed, that Resh has moved through, that I've moved through, that Rha has certainly moved through. And we'd love to have you, and just engage with us online. We're on Facebook, True Paid Good, right, and on Twitter at True Paid Good. So we're here for you. And then just keep your eyes peeled. Sign up on our site if you haven't already, to receive the exciting goodie coming your way, featuring the Reshma Saujani, and how you can begin to move into this live your own live, love, lead process. So thank you for joining us this evening.
Ashe. Thank you all so much, everybody. We love you. Resh, thank you so much. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.